Welcome into the garage area after we have just come back figuratively from watching COTA this weekend, where Christopher Bell ends up beating out Kyle Busch for the win. It was, in my opinion, a pretty good race. And my pick, Tyler Reddick, ended up with a pretty good finish. You had SVG, he had a pretty good finish as well. Before we dive into the whole race as a whole, let's talk about our picks and where did Reddick finish on the day?
Third,
Well, how many points did he earn?
39,
And SVG finished.
6, and he earned 45 points.
So even though this is where my brain has got to get on track with the actual point system and how it works, especially if we're being rewarded the points that the drivers earn, is I'm not always necessarily paying attention to the stage points that are earned throughout the race. So I was thinking that I was in good shape, earning more points than you did with my Tyler Reddick pick, but because he didn't earn as many stage points as SVG, you end up coming out on top this weekend. So congratulations to you there. You end up taking the lead in the point standings between the two of us by six, correct?
Yeah.
So that was this has been an interesting dynamic this year. It's made me pay more attention to how the point system works instead of just one guy finishing ahead of the other. So I think that's pretty neat. I'm kind of looking forward to see who we get out of Phoenix. Um, as far as the rating of the race, what did you think? What do you got it at?
I got a 9. I mean,
9.
yeah, I think this is the best road course race we've seen. And that finish we had at Watkins Glen with SVG and Busher was up there too. But just, I don't know if it was just the perfect storm, the way the tires wore out and they all came together at the end and strategy and cautions fell out. But, having them cars battling each other, fighting tire wear and whatnot, I thought it was great.
I really agree with you. I'm just very surprised that as pessimistic as you are about every race every single week that you give this one a 9. I agree. I mean, you're judging it obviously in the perspective of it being a road course race, and I'm doing the same thing. Um, I went back and forth between an 8 and a 9, but I'm going to go with an 8. I like some of the things that they did. I like the fact that it was a shorter course. I think that helped. I like the Joker lap thing that you have to do if you end up cutting the S's. But I don't necessarily like the track limits still being officiated. I like the softer tire. Um, I really don't have any complaints other than that. I mean, I thought the whole race was good. I heard people complaining about there being a lull in the second and third stage until about, 15 to go or whatever it was. I really thought that both stages were really good length. And full disclosure, I watched the race after it was over. I watched the recorded version. And so I was able to fast forward through the commercials. And maybe that's what kept things flowing right along for me. But I thought both stages were a good length. I was happy with them. I thought that the racing in them was good. The strategy that they showed was good. Larry McReynolds explaining, these guys have enough of a lead to pit before the stage ends, before the stage closes pit road. Um, all of that I thought was very positive. Yeah, it did string out a little bit in the third stage, but it took a long time to get to that point of the race, and I I couldn't have a higher. It couldn't have met my expectation. It couldn't have exceeded my expectations anymore as a road course race. Like you said, that soft tire really helps. Having grip give up over the course of a run is huge. And Connor Zilisch mentioned it too, that when they unloaded, the cars themselves were just they didn't have the amount of grip that they thought they did in the sim, and I think that was a big advantage as well.
Yeah, I mean, talking about a lull, I mean, we had battles for the lead. Reddick led there for a while, then SVG came up and took the lead, and then by the next stage, Kyle Busch was coming and taking the lead. I mean, well, most of these guys they get up front at a road course previously, they're up front and block air blocking and everything else. So I
Yeah,
thought you were able to pass, and especially if you had better tires or didn't wear out your tires or like that. And I thought it was one of the better races we had.
I agree. I agree. Let's talk about Kyle Busch for a second. One thing that I want to touch on before we talk about his day is there would seem to be some more complaining out of his camp about NASCAR officiating. Today, the issue was with at COTA, obviously track limits are being enforced, but in turn six, you could cut the course and it wasn't a big deal. And that memo didn't seem to make its way through the entire garage area. I mean, we got it obviously, but the actual NASCAR garage area, they didn't get the memo the whole way through them. Uh, and it seemed like some guys were aware that that was okay, and other guys were not. And Kyle Busch didn't seem to be one person that understood that that was okay to do what he did, or to be able to cut the course like that. And he said he kind of called NASCAR out again afterwards, saying that it doesn't sound like they even, I don't know his exact quote, but basically saying like they don't even seem to know their own rules. That's the second time in three races he's called out NASCAR officiating. And it's just like, dude, you're fine. Just relax a little bit. And it doesn't seem like Kyle was willing to do that. But he ran really well today. Led a lot. How many do you have it pulled up? How many laps he led today?
I think he led the most. Yeah, 42.
Yeah, but he was that 8 car was out front for a lot of them. At the end of the race, obviously, Bell had a better car by staying out those extra couple laps. That's what made the big difference in the race was the tire wear. And Bell is having this opportunity to run down Kyle, but it's a questionable as to whether or not he's going to get there with the amount of laps left. I thought he would get there. I didn't know if he'd be able to pass Kyle. And then when Denny and Austin Dillon spun out, they ended up having to re-rack for the restart. And Kyle tried his best to hold him off, and Christopher Bell just had a better race car, and you got to feel like that win's really close for Kyle Busch, and he's kind of picked up the momentum to begin the year. I didn't expect him to be as strong as he was this weekend, but really ran a great race, and I feel like the win is close, and he just kind of needs to hang in there a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I saw at the end of last year, I felt like he was picking up some speed. I think we talked about it earlier in one of our previews. And I think he's going to get a win or two this year. I I'm pretty confident in that. But
Yeah. Um, Christopher Bell won the race. I Tell me what you think, but I feel like Bell has really matured as a Cup Series race car driver for the fact of he was so patient with Kyle, knowing that he had a faster car. The laps are winding down. He did not panic, even when him and Kyle kind of made a little bit of contact there. He wasn't he wasn't wound up on the radio. He didn't make aggressive moves. He just let Kyle come to him. And for one thing, that racecraft is just amazing. And again, it has a huge part to do with the tire wear because he knew that he had a little more he could lean on than Kyle. He just had to be patient with him, and he was just that. And once he got by him, he drove away. And I was not. I mean, I was pulling for the 45 to win or Kyle. I mean, I oddly enough, I wanted to see Kyle end up pulling him off, but I didn't think that was going to end up happening. Um, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of Christopher Bell as far as I don't dislike him. I just don't. There's nothing about him that attracts my fandom to him. Um, but this is two wins in a row, and just I don't think he could have done it in any better of fashion. I thought he did a great job to win the race.
yeah, I mean, I think last year if he had a few more laps chasing down William Byron, he could have won this last year too. Um, Also the same aspect of him racing Kyle clean. I think the previous 2 years at COTA, Bell had got into Kyle, and I think Bell was trying to pay back the favor and do it clean with him this time. So I also kind of saw some of that with William Byron. I felt like he was just kind of lurking behind Bell and Bush there when they were fighting, just maybe trying hoping they'd burn their stuff up before, and then once they got done with their fight, he'd run them down. But it was a great battle at the end between all of them. So
Yeah, I agree. I think the race as a whole was great. Shane Van Gisbergen, your pick for the weekend. How many laps did he lead? He was out front a lot.
23.
Yeah, he kept that car out front for quite a bit of the race. Um, did you think that he was going to have an opportunity to win the race as it was unfolding? And at what point did you think, oh, this is probably over for him?
Um, I thought it was over. Um, they stayed out the longest on that final green flag run. Um, but I think he was like 15 seconds behind when he came out. And I thought, well, he's not going to win this race from there. Um, then once that caution came out, I had life again. Like he had like 5 or 6 lap fresher tires maybe at that point. Um, I thought he gets restarted up there. He's restarted on the inside, and I'm like, all right, he's gonna get up there, and then I don't know what, turn one. It's just whatever at that point, that late in the race. Everyone's diving in here and there, and I think he just got slipped up through that corner, and he wasn't good on restarts almost all day. He had trouble with restarts and stuff, and he'd fall back a couple positions, and he'd have to work himself forward. But that restart, he just fell too far back, and once that thing started to spread out after a couple laps, you could just tell he wasn't gonna make his way back up there.
Yeah. Boyer talked about it being that he had an issue restarting with low air pressure, but you'd think, I mean, I understand they get an opportunity to cool down a little bit, but you'd think after having raced on those tires a little bit and then going back green that your pressures would be built up at that point. And that
Yeah,
wouldn't be.
that was what I was hoping for. That maybe this restart would be different. He had, you know, but at the same aspect that the other restarts that were stage breaks, he obviously had a couple laps on those tires because they flipped stages. So obviously even with some pressure built up, he had trouble then too. So
Yeah. Um, Another guy that was a big road course name was Connor Zilic. He was getting his Cup debut this weekend. He ended up winning the Xfinity Series race in dominating fashion, even after making a couple mistakes. And he made some mistakes in the Cup race too. Got off the course on the very first lap, and then ended up getting in a crash with Daniel Suarez. I had no real issue with Connor Zilic. I think that it was cool to see him out there. I He clearly had a fast car because he was making his way through the field when he crashed with Suarez. And I don't know. It just I got a lot of hope for him, but yeah, it's his first Cup start. I didn't
I think
really
he
have.
got pushed. Yeah, that first lap off course, he got pushed in that melee with Ross Chastain and stuff. He just happened to be on the outside of that and got a flat tire and stuff. And he came back. I think he was running top 15 at that point when he got wrecked into the 99 car when he spun out. But yeah, he's going to be phenomenal on these road courses. I think in anything he drives. So I don't see it. He's probably in the 99 next year. If not, there's also rumors that Hendrick's going to swipe him for the 48. So I could see him being in Cup next year.
I was going to ask that if Suarez obviously crashed and he's a road course guy. Do you think that I'm thinking you do, but do you think that he has a there's a real opportunity he can be out at the 99 this year or at
I
the end
think,
of the
so.
year?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just even on this day, Zillage was gonna pass Suarez because Zillage was you know catching him at that point. So I just Suarez just seems to be. I feel like the slowest of the cars, even with Shane being the rookie this year in this car and stuff. So, of course, we've only been to a couple of restrictor plate tracks, I guess if you call it, in the road course. But I mean, it's still early to tell. But Suarez is on the hot seat, and it was with Zillage and what he's shown on road courses, even in this debut, and how he came back from that first lap incident. It's just I don't see him being down there too long. So.
We'll keep an eye on Alex Bowman's situation as well because I agree with you. I think that he could be in a position to lose his ride as well. You're
Yeah.
correct. Okay. Speaking of the Ross Chastain situation, turn one, lap one, dive bombs everybody, 17 lanes deep, and takes out your guy Chase Elliott. How are the Chase Sexuals feeling after this one?
Uh, I was definitely frustrated when that happened. I felt like anytime he has a fast car is up front and it just, especially at road courses where he's good at, he hasn't had the same success in the next gen, but I could argue a couple of races he had a shot to win. It just felt like the day was over right off the bat. Um, Ross Chastain, he started ninth or 10th or something back there, and he hit the third place car going into turn one on lap one. And that was just ridiculous at that point.
I tell you, my issue with this obviously is it's turn one, lap one. If any driver in the field did this, I'd be upset. If Ross Chastain did this at any racetrack, given his history, I'd be upset. But the thing that really irritates me is him standing there in front of Carson Hocevar last week, running his mouth to him about how Carson didn't do a good job. He doesn't know how to race. And what I don't know what was said exactly, but clearly giving him some form of a lecture. And then Ross comes out, turn one lap, one of the next race and races like that, and declines to comment on it.
Yeah,
That's my problem. Like, if you're gonna be an idiot, if you're gonna drive with your head up your hiney hole, then you got to be able to talk to the media about it. Like, what are you doing?
yeah. Um, I had a thought that came to my mind and it just like went away, but but yeah, I that's yeah, that's I was always heard you can't win a race in the first lap, but you can lose it, and just making moves like that, it just doesn't bode well for you. It was kind of funny when Chase finally did catch back up to him there at the end there. He like pulled over like five car widths to get out of his way and let him by. So, but I mean, Chase made a miraculous comeback there. They put tires on that last caution, restarted like 20th, and drove all the way up to fourth. So, but it's just can't imagine what would have happened if he'd have been up there all day.
Yeah, I'm clearly not a chase sexual like you are, but I thought it was neat to see him get a little bit of redemption after, getting just meleeed the first lap there.
Yeah,
Um, the only other thing that I really had that I wanted to talk about was Chase Briscoe. Um, Obviously, with the points penalty that he's had, that's going to be, it's being appealed. He's in deep hole in the standings and whatnot. It seems like he has a really fast car at every racetrack we've gone to all 3 weeks so far, but his aggressive level seems to have kicked up a little bit, and he's a little bit misguided, I guess, with having this rocket ship under him week after week. And my opinion is that Chase is probably going to win a race this year. He's probably going to win at Phoenix. That's kind of my guess. And he has a really good race car every week and good opportunities to win, but he's just got to get it under control a little bit.
yeah. I can see that. I mean, I think that's probably the fastest equipment he's been in, especially in the Cup Series. I can see the aggression there, like especially at Daytona when of course, everyone was putting their noses in holes that were shouldn't have been and stuff. But you know, I mean, we're only a few weeks in. I feel like once we get more of these regular ovals and uh, mile and a half and stuff, I think we'll really see what he has. But I just he's in a big hole too. He's almost. Yeah, I mean, you talk about looking at points now or whatever, depending on how the appeal works out. I mean, he's negative 28 points. That's what he has. He doesn't have a bonus or a single point above zero. So, it's almost looking like a must win at this point, even just a few races in. So I can
Yeah.
see him having some ramped up aggression.
I like that for an alternative podcast name. If we ever need to come up with one, is noses and holes. That's going to be good. We'll mark down.
Yeah.
Speaking of noses and holes, one of the things that we didn't cover so far is the Austin Cindric Ty Dillon incident. Not at all surprised that Ty Dillon ended up spun around on the racetrack this weekend, but it looked like he kind of ran Cindric off the racetrack a little bit, and Cindric, in a retaliatory fashion, right hooked him into the fence. And according to NASCAR's rules, that's supposed to be a suspension. Do you think that there's any extenuating circumstances here? Do you think there's any way that Cindric doesn't get suspended?
I think he'll at least get penalized. I think maybe he should be suspended. Just not because, you know, of what happened, but what could have happened. I mean, I think Cindric's best interest would have just been waiting till they got up the top of hill, turn one, and shift him into the gravel and went on his way. So, the I guess technically was it a right hook or a left hook when the direction they're going? But
I think it was right.
right, yeah. I read somewhere it was a left hook, and I had to think about it for a second. But anyhow, they yeah, I think by rule and intent, he probably should be suspended. Reality, he just got spun out. I don't think there was any other contact other than that. I don't remember if he tapped the wall even a bit. Of course, Zane Smith, I think, missed him, but that he could have been T-bone right there in the middle of the straightaway. So I think based on intent, he probably should get suspended. And he'll definitely, I would think, at least get some type of a penalty of some sort. But, yeah,
This is a little off topic, but I remember watching a NBA playoffs Lakers run one year, and Kobe Bryant was going up to for a layup, and he got shoved in the back, which should be a foul, but he landed on his feet and nobody called it, and he was upset that he didn't get the call, and it was almost as though because he landed on his feet, he didn't end up on the ground, that they weren't interested in carrying that foul all the way through. And I don't think that you can say that because he got hooked and didn't hit anybody, it's all good. Like, I like Austin Cindric. I like the fact that he races for Team Penske. I don't really see him being somebody that loses his temper very often. And I'm sure he's frustrated that he's a back marker this week, but you can't do that. That's a suspension, in my opinion.
yeah,
Um, One other thing that I was going to say, and I've said that twice so far, but people, I have this idea and I've got to get it out somewhere, and you're the only person I can get it out to. And they talk about these track limits, and they don't want people in the NASCAR tower officiating it. They can't put an actual structure there because you could hit that and it could end your day and it could end somebody else's day and whatever. I have this idea that I don't know even what you would call this thing, but it's a device that would have like a flag on it. If you hit it, the flag folds down, but it pops back up. And so if that flag got moved, you're under penalty. It doesn't
yeah.
damage your car. It doesn't do anything to anybody else. It just if you move the flag, you're under penalty.
That actually a thought came into my head too when thinking about ways uh, to police it and stuff like that. Just have some type of device there. Of course, you could say that it could get run over at some point and broken also. So, I mean, it's the other thing is some type of laser or something there that it's. I think they have an automated system or something that counts it. So I don't think it's all just NASCAR. They might have an actual automated system too. So um, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I
Yeah,
think.
that's again one of our other genius ideas come up with here in the garage area that we're gonna have to run up to Jim France. So if you get a chance tomorrow, maybe see if you can find his email and we'll shoot some of these ideas toward him.
Yeah,
Uh, that's really all I had from the COTA weekend. There's no truck races. Like we said, Zillage dominated the Xfinity Series race, and Bell wins the Cup race in patient fashion.
yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add?
That's all I got.
That's all I got too. Uh, Good show. Happy for Kyle Busch to have run as well as he did, and it's weird to say, but looking forward to seeing him get a win here shortly. Phoenix coming up next. I already said I anticipate Chase Briscoe being really fast. I don't know who you are, thinking of ahead of time, but we'll certainly be getting a video out at some point previewing that, and hopefully you'll be putting out a penalty video tomorrow as they hear both possibly the Chase Briscoe thing and the Austin Cindric situation. So we'll see how that goes, and probably a ruling on the Kyle Larson deal as well because he lost a wheel on the racetrack.
Yeah.
But that's all I got from the COTA weekend. And we will see you after Phoenix here in the garage area.